standard way, but the film record is used commonly to make these kinds of analysis. That's what you got here. You have a film record and an acoustic record, and by God, they give you the same answer. There must be 1,000 locations this guy could be shooting in dealing plasma. What are the odds that they're both going to give you the exact same answer? The same spot of the left side picking fence and the left side. Astronomically small. That completes the program that we started at the beginning. To find an agreement between multiple independent instrumented records, and that's what we've done. This is how to approach this scientifically. It demands a shot from the grassy knoll, more than one shooter. This is beyond definitive. And I actually did some work with Photoshop, and if you throw this Mormon thing in, you get the high resolution versions. It's the big resolution version on Wikipedia. You can actually pull a face out of there. And I had a portrait artist look at this, and she thinks it's a face. And then, just for fun, we tried to match up Lucy and Sardi, and there's a match between the nose and the shape of the face. So I think Sardi could be a good agreement. If you're a Sardi fan, this is significant. But the point is the exact same spot. The face is coming out of the exact same spot that you get from all the other stuff. So, Google says, if you can see a face in there, your eyes should be donated to science. I don't think he's looking hard enough. But I don't put this in the book about Sardi or anything, but I show you guys just for fun. That I think this is a real person there. He's at the exact spot that the guy would be. This is moments after the shot was fired. In fact, you can see the head recoil. All right.
Question, how many shots did Sardi fire?
It could have, who knows? He fired at least one from the grass. He could have fired the shot that hit him in the throat. That's a possibility. So a lot of witnesses heard 2 shots from the grassy knoll, especially people sitting in the car behind, Kenny O'Donnell and those guys. They believe 2 shots. That second shot in the throat, which had to come from the front, could have come from somewhere else in the dealing plasma. I mean, you can't sort out everything in here, but you can sort out the multiple assassins. What's the Bruder film altered? There's a huge communist community out there right now that says, yeah, it's been altered. Okay, well, David Roden, who's a historian and wrote a book called The Bruder Film, he argues there just wasn't enough time between the times the Bruder puts it in the safe the night before and the next morning when he gets it. You've got 7 hours where you have to get in there, you have to steal it, fly it to California or Washington, make alterations with technology that wasn't available at the time, then you have to bring them back. I used to work for the government, and I know that the government people can't even make a decision of what to alter in 3 or 4 hours. They have to sit down and debate it for weeks. What are we going to alter here? Nobody can do that. Okay, so that makes no sense that could happen. Then it got to Life magazine. They're not going to alter it to jeopardize their revenue streams. But a lot of people think that, I guess that means time is up. So the bottom line is, Roland's model looked at this and said that it's in-camera original. If you want to advance that theory, you're going to have to fool Zavada, make your own film up, and see if you can fool him. If you can't do that, give up. To the historical record, this is Pugliese said, knowing nothing can exist without paternity of history, hence the latter is sacred, and I agree with him absolutely, but he's got the completely wrong viewpoint. Our history has been tampered with and distorted, and I think it's a national tragedy. And the fact that our government and our news media are either scientifically illiterate fools or total liars, neither one is which is good. I think I proved this, and people have read this book and said it's changed their view on the Kennedy assassination. And I hope everyone will at least take a look at it. Well, thank you very much.
I guess maybe what we'll do is combine Sherry and Paul and then do question and answer afterwards. Is that?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Unless Sherry wants to start a little bit later. Do you want to answer questions now? Why not?
Questions?
Of course, Robert Morrow.
Hey, great presentation. Like you, I'm a believer in the headshot from the grassy knoll. What is your personal opinion on the total number of shots and the sequencing of them based on Zapruder film? I'm just curious.
I think the House saw 5 shots and they can conclude. The Zapruder film, I don't think you can see all the shots on there, but the House committee saw 5 waveforms that they're pretty confident in. There could have been as much as 9. But there could have been a lot of shots in dealing plasma. I think there's at least 3 shooters shooting at the guy. They could have got all 9, 10 shots easily. So the answer is scientifically it's hard to say, but I think there's at least 4 or 5.
At least 4 or 5, maybe 9 or 10.
Could be that high.
Next.
Did you measure the backward velocity of JFK's head? What was it?
Yeah, I did. It comes out to, it moves like 8.5 inches within 10 frames or something. So I measured that and then I wove it into the velocity, into the momentum. So it gives a very, very good agreement with the 220 switch.
And you look at the Zapruder film and the head goes backwards at a 45-degree angle to the left.
Yes. Back and forth.
Now,
With 45-degree angle with respect to the limousine, that is the axis of the limousine.
right, well, the bullet comes in at 45 degrees, about 45 degrees.
Right.
Okay. And his head goes backward like that.
Yep.
Okay. Now, there are about 10 people or so that said that the limousine came to a complete stop.
It does. I mean, I've looked at that Zapruder film a gazillion times. I've talked to the guy at the National Archives. I said, could this have been altered? He said, not within the realm of possibility. I've looked at it over and over again. You have to look at the high-speed, full-speed version. That thing stops dead in the road. I mean, it stops. Now, whether it stops for a second or 2 seconds, time slows down. I know this in personal experience. If you're in some very emotional situation, watch this sporting event, time slows down in your mind.
But I looked at the Zapruder film. You can look at it on YouTube. And
Go down to the National Archives and look at it. Take their version and look at that, and that thing comes to a stop. And until you've done that, I'm not interested in what you saw on YouTube.
It doesn't stop.
Well, I disagree with you. Go down to the National Archives, take a look. The thing comes to a
Gary
stop.
Aguilar has copies from the National Archives.
I've never seen a copy. Go down and watch the original film. Go travel to Maryland.
We have done that.
But you're not watching it clearly because it comes to a stop.
It doesn't stop.
Well, what does it do then?
Slows.
It slows.
Well, it slows very dramatically then,
Yes,
but
it
it looks
slows
like a pretty
dramatically
complete
by
stop.
30%, but not a stop.
Or we'll debate that issue.
Paul, my name is Jim Spencer. My question is, while I basically support a shot in the grassy knoll, if I look at his posture earlier in the motorcade, I sense he really is bending over in a certain angle, and I still have trouble answering people's, who might argue, could there be a low-angle shot from the Daltex building that could enter the back at the position we know, yet still exit the throat?
Then you would have to have a wound in the back of his neck, and there's no evidence for a wound in the back of his neck.
No. If you
I see what you're saying. You want to bring in a low-angle shot,
From
and
the down.
that gets to be some really complicated things because it's going down. Remember, he's sloping down at an angle,
Right.
going down on that road there. So now you have to get underneath them, and you have to probably come up through the limousine to make that shot work.
I'm just making the point, it doesn't have to be as magic a bullet if you were arguing a low-angle shot
I
from
don't
the
believe
Delta.
it. Hey, magic bullets are fine. Impossible bullets, that's what I don't believe in. When they violate the law of physics, that I don't believe in.
Joey.
Hey, sir, I noticed that you believe that when Kennedy is raising his arm, he's been shot in the upper back, correct? Or was he shot in the throat like many people think?
He's shot in the back very early because Kellerman says he's shot in the back. And here's Kennedy say, I've been hit, which would be impossible if he had shot in the throat. If that bullet went through his throat, it would have ruptured his windpipe. He couldn't have said, oh my God, I'm hit. So that was proof too that it's Tim Johnson.
Just one moment. Emerson Stocks, please go to the concierge. You need it at home. Okay, you need to, we just have emergencies. Two people back.
I think it was first. Is it possible for you to go back to the picture of Kennedy's tracheostomy? Can you do that? I don't know if that's possible. To the trach. Next one, right there. If you look on the picture to the left, right beside the trach, on Kennedy's right side, on your left side, come out to the left. There's a puncture wound right there. No one has ever addressed that. Now this was in the days before you did catheterizations of internal jugular and subclavians. Do you have any idea what that is?
I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. You know, it could, like you said, it could be a mole. I don't know that's definitive.
You know, I've talked to the doctors who did the trach for a long time. And they did nothing to the neck that would result in that area, and nor do they
You're
see.
talking about this bump here and the
No, I'm not
wound
talking
here?
about the bump, I'm
Yeah.
talking about that puncture wound right there. And it actually has a halo around it.
Okay.
And you see that a lot with gunshot wounds.
Well, it's clear that somebody was digging around in there, probably to remove the bullet, would be my guess.
I think it's an interesting thing that not many people have commented on.
A question with the shot from the right as you postulated, would you expect damage to the left side of the head?
It would depend on what kind of round was used. A lot of the high-speed rounds, I think Sherry's going to address this next, a lot of the high-speed rounds will penetrate. But if it's a frangible round, designed to come apart on impact, which is what Cyril Weck told the initial committee, wrote a memo saying, this damage pattern is consistent with a frangible round, like President of the American Forensic Society or something. This was in 1977, he told them that. They still didn't believe him, versus the other guy said there's some beveling effect, that means the shot came from behind. There's no evidence for beveling anywhere except what some doctor would call it. Sherry's going to talk about that next, by the way, so you can drill her like
One more question from me, Tim Nicholson from Anaheim. Do you have any theories on how a small bullet fragment got into Connolly's thigh, or any other theories about what caused his radius bone fracture and fracture of the two ribs in his right side of his chest?
When the Adelaide test, they set up a mock dummies of each of these things. So they made up a mock dummy of the wrist. The bullet went through the Kennedy dummy and starts to tumble. It tumbles into the Connolly and shatters two ribs because it's tumbling at that point. But it fails to penetrate the wrist. So they did a wrist mock-up with bone and ballistic gel. It bounces off. So it's lost so much energy going through Kennedy. And this is the test that the Warren Commission refused to do. Warren Inspector wasn't going to do that test. He said, shoot independent, the shooting goats or something. Don't shoot two together. Shoot them independently and make an extrapolation. Oh, I'm going to fool you. I'm going to trick you. They did the test, and it bounces off. And instead of saying that, by God, we didn't match it up, they said, well, the bullet's tumbling, so that would... But you know what happens? When it goes through Kennedy, it's going to start to tumble. Right? And that's their whole point, is when it's tumbling, it comes in and creates this wound on his back, because it looks like a tumbling wound. So they've got all that going, and then they fall out at the end and try to make up some nonsense. Well, yeah, you got the tumbling, yeah, you damaged multiple ribs, but you couldn't go to the throat. So that's proof that it had to be a shot that hits him directly, otherwise it doesn't have enough energy to do that. If it goes through Kennedy first, it doesn't have the energy to do the rest of the wound pattern.
So where does it come from?
Well, it's a second shot. It hits him independently. He's not hit by the same bullet Kennedy's hit by.
Yeah, but where was the gunman?
Good question. There are some doctors who have made measurements and think the gunman was actually on the right side of the school book depository, not in the sniper's nest, but on the other side. And one thing is interesting is I think he leaves the gun at the stairwell, so he would have had to carry that gun all the way up there, but someone firing from that location could just move the gun back there. It would be a lot easier and less visible.
And what frame did that happen at?
I think, again, the issue is he believes he's hit around 230, 232. And that's a really good matchup with his acoustic data, by the way. That's when the Connollys think he's hit. And he reacts about 235, 237. Guess what? That's the 200 millisecond reaction time. That comes in pretty good, too. Anything else we got with this skewer?
Hey, folks, that's...
Thank you. For listening.
We have a bunch of newcomers today. Just the protocol that we're trying to do here. Save your questions.